Welcome to UVTV, motherfucker. I'm gonna kick spiritual ass and do this for my people. On God. Neon nigga for Feather Me, and today I'm gonna be talking about how to get over exes. AKA what I like to call opening esoteric exits and stuff like that. And from you opening that esoteric exit, look at that as you opening a portal to a new sphere, a new world, a new orb, a new realm of reality and stuff like that, right? And it puts you in a different space compared to the one that you was already into, based upon you already dealing with an ex, and that's something that preceded before you and stuff like that. So from it preceding before you and someone should perform, and you trying to get over that hump, you know what I'm saying, you try to ride that high instead of being on a low in someone should perform, right? You're gonna go through that transition by going through that different portal, esoteric exit, to have some type of escape, not get lost into escapism and stuff like that, and cope based upon the body and the flesh and the external tools and technology that get made from the flesh. For the most part, you're able to put yourself in a new creative productive state of being and stuff like that, and you won't get too encapsulated of what you was already in. Okay, you was in a relationship, and then you was dealing with that ex in some way, shape, and form, right? And from them being an ex, it's like an esoteric hex and stuff like that. But I'm gonna get into it. So, like an ex, it's like expansion in some way, shape, and form, right? So dealing with that X energy, that's like an out. So from it being out is something that's outside of your realm of view and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's outside just your perception, aka your bias or your subjectivity and stuff like that. So it's something that's objective in some shape or form. So you can look at that as, oh, okay, you have your own mind and you observe your thoughts and ideas based upon the different things that be on your mind and stuff like that, from what you're paying attention to, and you're gonna get attracted based upon what you're paying attention to, because you're paying attention, you're giving it payment. You know what I'm saying? You're giving it value. You're giving it, you know what I'm saying? Like you're starting to tend to that seed, regardless of the dichotomy between it being positive or negative or good and bad for you and stuff like that. You're still paying attention to it. So the more you pay attention to it, the more it's going to keep on expanding, and you start having a whole bunch of different thoughts, ideas that turns into emotions and feelings that you want to act towards based upon how you feeling and how you self-reflecting about it, because everything is a self-projecting. Everything is a self-projection. So based upon your self-projection type of energy and stuff like that, it's just going to show everything you self-reflect about. And based upon that self-reflection type of energy, it's just going to be the face or the image of what the fuck you self-reflecting about. So it's going to be a self-projection. And based upon astral projection and stuff like that, not the flunked out version, but actual astral projection and stuff like that, you're just projecting what your thought is. You're projecting that mental image. You're projecting your imagination. You're projecting how you feel about it. You get what I'm saying? So in general, right, it's just gonna go into like that spirit, mind, body concept, birth, life, and death type of concept and stuff like that, right? So from it being out, that means it's something that's more expanded. So from it being expanded, it has to go into a body, into a thought, into a feeling, into a shape and form. So from it going in something, inception, you know what I'm saying? Right, it's gonna go into a mentality and stuff like that, because it has to go in something. So from it going in something, it's gonna end up building that blood flow adrenaline, aka that the idea, feeling, emotion, and the mentality, and that's your first body. And then your second body is the physical shape and form of what that is and stuff like that. And you hit to act that out into the flesh and in the material, and it being materialized instead of you manifesting men. So manifesting in general is just manifesting men and women. Men and women would just be male, female, masculine, feminine, external, internal. You know what I'm saying? Externalizing, internalizing, in some shape and form, right? Positive polarity, negative polarity, but that's a whole different concept for the most part before they start getting into good and bad and stuff like that, because these are just energy signatures that you're, you know what I'm saying, based upon the vibration that you're riding on at the moment and stuff like that, right? So based upon it being an X, it just means it's an out. So from it being out is something that you already done did by making it in another different shape and form and stuff like that. So you had that experience, right? You already observed what the fuck that looked like. You already had that experience with that person and stuff like that. That's why you call that motherfucker a X, and why you will call that because it's out of your realm of reality now. You're not in that space no more. It's someone who you was dating and that inside that relationship and relating to them and stuff like that, and you was trying to reshape and reform and recalculate different forms of how to maintain that relationship. And then depending on the reasons why y'all broke up and stuff like that, it's previous. So it's like a predecessor. It's something that came before you and stuff like that. So it's the same way how 5 years ago, You used to think one way when you was a teenager, you was 15, and it's 5 years later. Now you're 20. You're not gonna think the same way how you was thinking when you was 15. And when you try to go back into that old mind state, it's you trying to do something that you done already did. So it's you getting lost into a pocket of time, aka a memory and stuff like that. It's good to look back on these things every now and then, but when you sit and you fixate on that too long, it's good. It's gonna end up creating and manifesting and materializing that type of energy of like, like those motherfuckers who like peaked in high school or something like that. It's like that type of energy, right? You think, oh, that's your peak. Oh, you think, oh, you're never gonna get over that hump. Oh, you think, oh, I'm only gonna be that highlight. I'm only gonna be that highlight by staying into that shape and form. AKA, I'm gonna ride that high of whatever light, information, thought, feeling, emotion, and enlightenment that I felt from being on that esoteric high and stuff like that. But you end up making yourself a spiritual crackhead because you always going to be in search and be fiending to be on that high based upon what you already done did, and you feel like you done peaked. So it's always gonna be you trying to experience some same shape and form over and over again, just in different different adjacent ways. You get what I'm saying? It's like you're trying to recapture something, but you're not going to experience it the same way because it's not going to happen that exact same way again based upon that experience. But you end up putting yourself in like a loop of experiencing that same thing over and over again. And the whole thing in general, right, based upon us being a internal spiral, aka a spirit, and we have our own mentality and our mind and a body, aka a shape and form, and based upon the birth, life, death concept, aka you're going to be born, you're going to live a life, and then you're going to end up dying one day and stuff like that. If you don't know how to go through the different transition, because all these things are different transitions and stuff like that, not just someone dying and then y'all look at that as, oh, that person is transition, but you don't look at, oh, when something get born, oh, that's a transition. Oh, from you being sentient, you being alive right now, you having a life, that's also a transition. You know what I'm saying? Like the same way how the seasons and stuff like that. Y'all don't look at the seasons like that because you can clearly see outside in the atmosphere based upon the clouds condensing and stuff like that, and the seasonal transition, aka from springtime when things start to bloom and grow when it comes to the plants and stuff like that, and it start heating up again, and then summertime of it being the peak of what that is, and then fall time, aka harvest season and things of that nature, where it started to get more cool and chilly and windy, and you know what I'm saying, you feeling the breeze, and then the leaves start to die out and deteriorate, and then wintertime when they're basically completely dead, and then you're gonna get snow, sleet, hail, you know what I'm saying, it's gonna be cold as fuck, and it's gonna be a lower degrees and stuff like that, and then people gonna be trying to recuperate and trying to wear big layer jackets and dress like niggas from New York and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, based upon those different transitions and stuff like that, right? If you don't know how to go with the flow of those natural transitions, because that's what life is just in general and stuff like that, you trying to keep on recapturing a point in time over and over. So it's like you peaking in high school, like I was saying with that example. So it's you trying to get stuck into a pocket of time instead of making new sentience, instead of making new life and birthing new ways to come into existence. So some new type of thought, some new type of vision. So having some new type of dream and imagination and new creativity or new productivity in so shape and form, right? From you trying to be into some type of newness and try to renew that, instead of you being to that state of being of dying to be born or dying to be alive and stuff like that. Eventually it's gonna make you more depressed and stuff like that, right? Because you're putting yourself in a state of being of deeply pressing against something. You get what I'm saying? So from you deeply concrete pressing against something in some shape or form, right? You're starting to be in that stubborn type of energy, that adamant type of energy, that fixated type of energy, and you never want to let that go. You always want to, you know what I'm saying? You end up turning into like an energy vampire and stuff like that, because you want to suck the life out of something instead of making some new type of fruit, and you keep on clinging onto some shit that's already dead and gone. So it's the epitome of beating a dead horse and stuff like that. You're trying to latch on to low-hanging fruit. So look at that as words and terminology like low vibrational or like demonic or something like that. You know what I'm saying? You're decreasing the value of something. You're not trying to be into that energy of newness. You're not trying to be into that energy of creation or being in existence or being into your natural state of being. Because the thing that's more natural and organic and stuff like that is, it growing again in some shape or form. But you keep on trying to eat some dead ass dirt, dead ass plant, and then trying to eat some dead ass animal and shit like that, and you can't even cook that shit properly, and that shit is dead and gone, motherfucker. So it's like it's the literal epitome of moving on and stuff like that. Now everyone's gonna have their own process, depending on, you know, how long they was with that person and stuff like that, and the memories they have attached with that person. But you always get a whole bunch of different reminders going through in life, just in general, of, oh, eventually I'm going to have to let that thing go. So just in general, right? Cliche as fuck, but yeah, nothing lasts forever. But that's the beauty of life, just in general and stuff like that. You can't find that beauty in general, right? Unless you go through that transition and stuff like that, and then you end up having some type of new talent, new capability, new gift, or new type of outlook or viewpoint of how to go about something without you going through that thing. So that's like you trying to take a shortcut, basically. So it's like either you trying to take a shortcut of trying to get to that same high by doing it in the same adjacent way, instead of getting way out your comfort zone and trying to put yourself in a different space, or it's the epitome of you can't get over that thing, so it's going to turn into that depression type of energy, and you're deeply pressing against that thing, right? And from you clawing into that thing and you so deeply attached, you know what I'm saying? It's like you're going to end up it's kind of like that terminology that Buddhists, the allegory that Buddhists be saying, where it's like attachment and suffering and stuff like that, where in that perspective, in that outlook, in that way, they're right. Because when you sit there and you attach to that, it's end up, you know what I'm saying? Like you're going to end up suffering by even like trying to attach to that physical shape and form that's not really a physical shape and form no more and stuff like that. But let's say based upon it being an ex and stuff like that, they're still alive and things of that nature. You're trying to attach to what that was, and you're trying to make that a physical thing. You're trying to materialize it to the point you actually might materialize a different situation where you interact with them again, and you may even try to be with them again, and then y'all get reminded again why it didn't work out the first time. You get what I'm saying? Because you're putting so much stress and you putting so much attention towards it and stuff like that, you can't put yourself in a different outlook, different state of being, different space outside of what that thing looked like without that person, place, or thing. I know I'm talking about exes and stuff like that, but this applies, like this energy just in general, this applies with people, places, and things. So in general, right, it's like you keep on getting it's like you're getting sucked into like a hex and stuff like that. That's why when like you keep on worrying about your ex, or you're still healing from the trauma and stuff like that you was dealing with when it comes to your ex and stuff like that, take the spookism about what the fuck I'm saying. I'm just using that as like an example. I'm using that as like a allegory and stuff like that. Your ex is like your hex. You starting to turn it into something that's like witchcraft and stuff like that. Okay, what's that? Witchcraft is based upon some type of female sorceress or something like that, right? What's feminine energy? Internalize it. What's crafting something? You know what I'm saying? You crafting, you're making it. So from you internalizing something, you're starting to do things from the outside in, not from the inside out. So you're taking things that's outside of you and you start internalizing that into a mentality. You start internalizing that when it comes to your spirit, your space, what you're creating for yourself. And you're starting to craft your realm of reality based upon what you're internalizing. So it's like a female witch. It's a female sorceress and stuff like that. So you can't move on without emanating that type of state of being just in general and stuff like that. So you act like a female sorceress and stuff like that. Witchcraft, bitchcraft. You start acting like a bitch and start acting extremely needy. Start acting extremely needy and doing a lot of extreme things just so you can feel some type of fulfilling type of space. Because just in general, right, from us being spirits in a body, we're always going to fulfill something, right? So we're going to fulfill that based upon making different shapes and forms and bodies and stuff like that. First body, our mind. Second body, or the physical and stuff like that. You're going to fulfill that space, that void, with a thought or a feeling or an emotion. And usually you're going to run to that subjectivity, that bias, because we all have our own sentient mind and our own way of how to conduct these things for the most part. But the minute you start getting too lost into your bias and your subjectivity, and you can't look outside yourself, right, and other sentient beings or other examples outside yourself based upon different transitions that are actually happening inside our atmosphere, aka the sphere at most, the world at most, the realm of reality at most, and different humans that you're interacting with, or different animals, or different experiences and stuff like that, and trying to make some new circumstance so you don't have to feel that way no more. You're gonna go and get trapped into an ego, right, and it start turning to some toxic type of energy, and you start acting like an energy vampire, and you start sucking the life out of everybody else because you trying to fulfill something, but you're doing it in a very bitch-made negative type of way. You get what I'm saying? Because you taking all that energy, right, of you not getting over your ex, and it start turning to hex type of energy. So look at that as a female sorceress, and I just explained what the fuck that is, right? Using a lot of different feminine things just in general, and get lost into emotion and feeling, and you're trying to craft your realm of reality about what you're internalizing. And like I was saying in the beginning of the video and stuff like that, everything is a self-projection, and everything you self-project is what you self-reflect about. What is that? Internalizing something. Reflection, introspection, feeling, emotion, you know what I'm saying? How you feel inside. You get what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And just in general, right, that's created based upon what you're paying attention to, right? And based upon what you're paying attention to, that's gonna attract different spaces, right? So that's like spirituality, right? You're gonna attract yourself into different spaces, so different spirits, so different entities and stuff like that, and you're gonna turn that into different deities before it turn to deifying something. So that's like you getting lost into idol worship, and you're anthropomorphizing something. So from you anthropomorphizing something and you deifying that thought, you deifying that idea, you're deifying, oh, I can't get over my ex. You start idol worshiping that thing, and you keep on praying, and instead of doing some real prayer, aka P-R-E-Y, not P-R-A-Y, you stuck in the energy of P-R-A-Y. Oh, I want to give my energy away to this deity, right, who probably don't even give a fuck about me. So look at that, it's like an ex who don't even give a fuck about you, but you keep getting lost into that thought and idea of what if we actually made that thing work out? What if we actually went through an experience to where it was just wrong place, wrong time and stuff like that? It was the right person, it was just the wrong time to do it because of this, that, and the third. When it's like, no, it's like an esoteric hex and stuff like that. And then there are scenarios where someone who you was with like 10, 20 years ago or some shit like that, who was an ex, aka like a high school sweetheart, and then y'all end up meeting again 10, 20 years later where it ended up working out. But it turns into a thing to where, oh, y'all had to get so separated from each other for those 10 to 20 years and stuff like that. And then y'all went through so many different experiences outside of each other to the point to where when y'all meet up again, aka like, I don't know, y'all end up meeting up again at the same hometown. Y'all probably moved away for a while and stuff like that. Y'all your own life, a whole bunch of different things. Fucked a whole bunch of different people and stuff like that. Traveled the world, whatever and stuff like that. To where now, yeah, that does work and stuff like that. But you had to go through all those different things to where y'all can get on the same page now. So at the same time, you shouldn't be too, like, you know what I'm saying, like mind boggled about that shit for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Because it's always about the next transition. So it's like, is either you get lost into a pocket of time or you end up taking a shortcut. You get what I'm saying? You're not trying to go through something. You just want it to be fixated, and you want it to be structured and founded based upon what you already know. So look at that as you being in your comfort zone. You going based upon your familiarity. You don't want to go outside your comfort zone and do something that's super unfamiliar to you. But the minute you actually put yourself out there and you actually give your, you know what I'm saying, you end up taking a risk or you taking a chance on something and you don't completely know everything that's going on and stuff like that, even though you really do know because your spirit be knowing everything for the most part. Because based upon you even having that thought of you sitting there all like, I don't know about this thing. You knew that you did not know about that thing. So you do know about it. You just never sat there and put yourself in that space for a long period of time to have a lot of know-how about that thing, but you know that you don't know about it. You know what I'm saying? Like it really be going that deep for real, like dead ass. So it's like, because knowledge, knowing shit is just knowledge, and knowledge is knowledge. So that shit is limitless and stuff like that. The same way the way our spirit is, and we always gonna come back and be reincarnated if we know how to maintain different sentience and we know how to expand and contract. So look at that as expanding our mind or expanding our spirit and stuff like that. And you can look at that in the flesh of, oh, this person had a lot of experiences or did a lot of things in their life and stuff like that. They had a lot of sentience. You know what I'm saying? They had a lot of passion. They had a lot of adrenaline. They had a lot of motivation and so on, shape, or form. You get what I'm saying? I'm just trying to make examples. Oh, this person was really creative and shit like that. They was able to cultivate and create something for themselves. And you know what I'm saying? They have a lot of culture that backs it behind based upon the sentiment that they was in, aka like-minded individuals to help them build that thing, and they kept on building, and they did not stop. They didn't get stuck in a certain fixation or a pocket of time or a memory of what that thing looked like, and they kept on trying to have different ways to attack it, different outlooks, different you know what I'm saying, different gadgets and stuff like that, different viewpoints and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So it's like having sex within the mind, because sex just in general, right, is taking one energy and another energy that's not the same as that other energy. So that's like masculine and feminine, and you turn that into another energy that's unfamiliar and stuff like that. So that's like how a father and a mother, they end up having two different horny thoughts based upon their two different biases and stuff like that. And then they end up having sex and they have a kid, and that kid is birthed out of the mama coochie and stuff like that, out that womb, based upon the ejaculation of the father's dick in some way, shape, or form, right? But that kid is the kid of that father and mother, but they're not gonna be exactly like their father and mother. You know what I'm saying? Based upon like a mentality standpoint. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So it just go back to what I was saying earlier, that everyone does have their own mind and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, you're gonna be similar and adjacent to your mother and father and stuff like that. But that's why it'd be different occurrences and stuff like that. Oh, your mother and father could have been raised in the ghetto and stuff like that, and they have a real like street type of mentality and stuff like that. But they was able to make ends meet to make it so that kid could be, you know what I'm saying, like live when it comes to financially, and they have all these different opportunities that they didn't have and stuff like that, right? And then their kid come out and they think nothing like their father, they think nothing like their mother and stuff like that. They end up being some prodigy or some shit like that, and it's not even like something to where, oh, they got into a very prestigious school or anything like that, but it's in general, oh, they have their own mind and they able to experience and look at things better than they can and stuff like that. So that's what we're supposed to be doing just in general the minute you start having kids and stuff like that. You trying to make your ancestors proud, aka your predecessors. So look at that, as your mother and father and your grandmother and your great grandmother and stuff like that in the spaces they was in, and I'm trying to create a circumstance to where I'm gonna try to do what they did and expand that even wider and make that shit even bigger and better and stuff like that, and help my bloodline or my spiritual family, because we're all in the same space, right? And we have a familiar reality when it comes to the same spirit. So based upon the spirit family and the bloodline family and stuff like that, it's not always going to be adjacent. It could be motherfuckers where your best friend, right, they end up being your best friend. Y'all don't even know each other. Like, y'all not even blood related in no shape and form. But you look at them like a brother. You look at them like a sister and stuff like that. You look at them like a sibling. But y'all not blood related in some way, shape, and form. But y'all have the same spiritual resonance. You know what I'm saying? Y'all be in the same space. And the same creativity, the same cultivation, the same productivity, the same sentiment and stuff like that. Y'all have a soul resonance and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all end up soulmating without taking away the way how y'all be looking at soulmates, because y'all be looking at y'all soulmates like it's supposed to be your significant other and stuff like that. Like, soulmates aren't just two different souls, so that's individual spirits in individual spaces. aka look at that as two individuals and stuff like that who got together, and they in the same way of how they look at shit for the most part, and they resonate and they know how to be in sync and stuff like that. It's real easy and comfortable for them to be around them, and they're able to take that shit real far compared to when they start getting around their family members and stuff like that. They feel mad uncomfortable even doing that. Why you think that is? So it's like it's the same shit. So it just in general, right? It's like you flexing a muscle and stuff like that, right? So the same way how you begin in shape when it comes to physical abilities and stuff like that, and you start building on muscle and stuff like that, and you start gaining weight, and you're able to handle more endurance and resilience and stuff like that. When you start going from 10 pounds to the 30 pounder to the 60 pounder and stuff like that by lifting weights and stuff like that, it's the same thing when it comes to your mentality. Oh, you have to be mentally fit. That's why that's why motherfuckers be saying that type of those different allegories and stuff like that. Oh, you need some mental toughness, mental strength, mental resilience. You're not mentally fit for this job. You get what I'm saying? You don't have enough creative thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, or you don't have enough experience, aka having a whole bunch of different observations and having your own significant way when it comes to your own skill set and your own way of how to do that job. You're not mentally fit for it because it's too overwhelming. It's too much for you and stuff like that. Or you feel like, this job cool, but this ain't me. You know what I'm saying? Like, this doesn't resonate with what I really want to do and stuff like that. I'm really only here for the monetary gain of money. I'm not really caring about the extra bullshit that comes with this. You get what I'm saying? That's why people need to actually go forth with the actual career and job that they actually resonate with based upon what pleases them and what they actually like to do on a day-to-day basis for the most part, regardless how it looks on the outside. Oh, this is positive, negative, and stuff like that. No, like, what resonate with you though? Like, what do you really like to do? What's something that's very natural and organic to you that don't take a lot of effort for you to do, and you want to experience that type of thing and go through the different boundary restriction and limits or frustrations or blockages and stuff like that, and you ain't gonna give a fuck about it. You like, nah, I'ma still work on this ability. I'ma still work on this capability. Nah, I'm kind of talented at this thing. Oh, I'm kind of skillful at this thing. I'm gonna keep on working at this, even though y'all like even when you go through different setbacks, you don't let that define you. You just like, nah, I'm gonna keep getting better at this shit. I really like doing this. It's for the love of the game. You know what I'm saying? It's like shit like that. So based upon that reflex and stuff like that, and you able to reflect the right way, you're gonna end up self-projecting the right way in so much before. So it's not what you're doing, it's how you do it. It's how you're looking at it. It's how you view it based upon what came before you, because you already experienced that thing. So it's something that happened in the past and stuff like that. But your past can define your present, and your present is just gonna help you dictate what's gonna be, the next thing you want to do. So what's going to happen in the future? Some type of foresight, but you can't get no foresight without the insight, and you can't get no insight or intuition of how to go about it in so much you perform without dealing with your past, without dealing with what came before you and stuff like that, all the way down to different lifetimes you done experienced and stuff like that. Or even if you're a new spirit and you just now got born in a human vessel and stuff like that, like things that came before you when you was a different sentient being, so like a bug or like an animal or something like that, and getting more familiar with that and stuff like that, and go through the different trials and errors and stumbles and falls and stuff like that. But the main point is going through the natural transitions, how to go about it for the most part. So in general, right, how everything I just said, to actually summarize and sum up the main topic of this video, is how to get over your ex, right, and opening esoteric exits in so much shape or form. So from you opening that portal of that esoteric exit, right, you start learning about the mystery, my story, the story of what you actually want for yourself based upon what you resonate with. And you're able to get over that hump by creating some new shape and form, some new idea, some new vision of trying to up your standards and stuff like that, instead of feeling depressed about that thing, because that's you deeply pressing against something, right? So from you deeply pressing against something, it's going to add emotional baggage, and you end up carrying a lot of weight behind you, and you feel like the world is on your, you know what I'm saying, the whole world is on your shoulders and stuff like that. And you have to make that lighter, like light as in weight. So the more you use your light body, your mind, your first, you know what I'm saying, like your light body, your metaphysical mind and stuff like that, your mentality, is how you look at it. You have to change how you look at it. Like you start looking back and what actually happened, for the reason y'all even broke up in the first place for the most part, right? And why they became an ex. So it's something that preceded you. You already observed it. You already went through that experience. So look at that and look what went wrong, and how can you process that in a better way to where you can have a better experience next time. And you start doing that like slowly but surely. You just have to keep trying at it. You have to keep working on it more and more, because it's like working out a muscle and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like flexing a muscle. You have to keep getting more mental resilience and stuff like that. You have to keep getting up and trying to find new ways to look at that thing, all the way down to trauma and stuff like that, because really this can help motherfuckers with trauma in their life too, for the most part, right? Of something they already been through, and they trying to get over that hump. And the more and more you keep on doing that, you end up opening that esoteric exit, that portal, to where it puts yourself in a different space, right? It puts you in a different sphere of reality, a different orb, a different world that's different than the world that you was just in. So look at that as, oh, you get some more insight or intuition of how to look at something and stuff like that. So look at that as, oh, damn, like I broke up with this person and stuff like that, right? And blah, blah, blah. I was real sad about that shit for like 3 months or 6 months to 3 years and stuff like that. You can't get over that shit, but you keep on like playing that shit back over in your head over and over. But over time, you start having different outlooks of how could have went, how could have not went and stuff like that. But at the same time, you start looking at it like, well, damn, that made me who I am in the first place for the most part. And you start weighing you start weighing the pros and cons, right? You start weighing, keyword weighing, you know what I'm saying? And the more you weigh on the pro and cons and stuff like that, the more you start getting into a bias, and you start getting into the I have the whole world on my shoulders type of mentality and stuff like that. So is this heavyweight or is this lightweight? Are you able to take that heavyweight and end up becoming lighter because you're trying to find different ways to look at it, aka flexing that mentality, flexing that muscle and stuff like that? Is this shit heavy as fuck for you, or you trying to make that shit lighter to where it's gonna be more lighter on your shoulders, and you can look back at that shit and just laugh, because you like, well, damn, all that fucked up shit did happen, but I wouldn't be me. You know what I'm saying? Because it defines, like, I'm not letting that thing define me, but it adds more to the experiences and the memory bank and the different things that I went through based upon my mental resilience and stuff like that, so where I can expand out of that and have a better outlook and a better way of how to go about it and stuff like that. Because all those different things, regardless if it's positive or negative, or it's a high or a low, all those things are experiences. All those things are lessons. You know what I'm saying? All those things, you can extract knowledge and wisdom out of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, from you extracting the knowledge and wisdom out of that, you end up creating a higher meaning and reason and talk why that happened and stuff like that. And you start talking like a motherfucker, like, oh, everything happened for a reason. Yeah, it did. It happened for a reason. Because based upon how everything is a self-projection and stuff like that, it's about the mentality you was into, why you attracted that person you was attracted to in the first place, for the most part. And then it's based upon what you were paying attention to. And you end up repurposing what you paying attention to, how you looked at that thing. Why did you like that person in the first place? And the mentality you was in, and the stage of life you was at, for the most part, like, yeah. So like I was saying earlier, based upon you going through those different transitions and stuff like that, you end up having sex within the mind and stuff like that. And then the same way how a motherfucker start having a horny thought based upon they feel like, oh, that motherfucker really feeling me and stuff like that, or it's some real good chemistry and stuff like that. It's a real whole bunch of different flirtation that's being out there and stuff like that. That's you doing that within the mind, right? Because you're starting to compare that old mind state to this new mind state because you're having some type of new way of looking at it, and you compare and contrasting and stuff like that. And this thought is going to go with this thought, and it's going to start manifesting and materializing into a certain feeling or emotion, and it puts you in a whole different emotion. And that emotion can represent like a whole bunch of different feelings. One moment you probably going to feel depressed. One moment you feel suicidal. But then another one, you feel kind of confused by this one. You kind of feel excited by this one. Excited as in, oh, excited of the new experience I can have that's outside this person and stuff like that, right? Or, you start having a more sophisticated look at how to go about it, for the most part. Or you extract certain wisdom out of this thought or this memory and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So the more you have that more mental resilience, and you just look at it like, oh, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be me just in general if I didn't go through that, because you went through it. So from you going through it, you experienced it. You didn't take the shortcut. You just taking it as it is. And the more you able to actually just go through the thing itself, go through the process, no matter how long it take, end up you getting more mental resilience and getting more mental strength, and you end up lifting all the different esoteric weights and the mentality, Planet Fitness and stuff like that. I'm just trying to make an allegory. I'm just trying to make an example. But from you doing that, end up becoming shit that looked like it was like the heavyweight or some heavy trauma or some heavy experience and stuff like that really weighed on you, and you end up making that shit lighter. You end up having a better way of looking at it, and you just like look back at that shit eventually 5 years later and stuff like that. The same way how you used to think 5 years ago, you don't think this 5 years later and stuff like that. You end up looking at that shit later like, oh yeah, I was tripping back then. You know what I'm saying? I was crazy about her, but you know, I'm crazy about this new thing I'm doing. And time heals wounds and stuff like that. So it's like everything take time. It's a process. And then at first you probably not gonna have no way to even look at it, because it could be a new type of experience that you never experienced before. Damn, you never got your heart broken like that. Damn, you never experienced no shit like that. Damn, you never like been with a person in that way before, or looked at someone in that light before. You know what I'm saying? Based upon what they did for you and how long the relationship was and stuff like that, and how much time they got put into it and stuff like that, in the care, or how much they didn't care, and you end up realizing how much they didn't give a fuck about you and stuff like that. But the more you actually build on that type of quality and stuff like that, and you look back on that relationship like, oh damn, because of this, that, and the third, you having a better way of how to relate to yourself, because that's really how it starts internally, for the most part. If you don't have no good way of how to have a good relationship with yourself, you ain't never gonna have no good relationship that gets better and gets more expanded and stuff like that. You have to relate to yourself first, and I feel like a lot of people don't be realizing that. You have to relate to yourself first and stuff like that. You have to resonate with yourself first. You have to give birth and give life and existence and sentience to yourself first. Why you think you got your own mind? Why you think you got your own subjectivity? And then all the subjectivity together make the objective and stuff like that. It makes the objectivity and shit like that. The same way how y'all even got together and stuff like that. Y'all had to be in the same page. Y'all had to be in the same space. Y'all had to be in the same mind frame to make the objective based upon you two coming together and having two subjective points of views. So you just start looking at it like, oh damn, it's like y'all make a whole new viewpoint based upon y'all two subjective point of views. But y'all had the same mission though. You know what I'm saying? So the more you learn how to put yourself into that space, right? End up opening different portals and different outlooks and different thoughts and different imagination and different ways on how to go about it, for the most part. And you start sitting there looking at it like, oh damn, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can end up creating like all the time I spent doing that, I could have been doing this, developing my creative abilities, creating some new way of how to look at it in someone shape or form, creating some type of new type of productivity in someone shape or form, creating some new type of thought of how to look at that thing. And then the more and more on the percentage scale you start doing that, and you put your time into that based upon what you're paying attention to, you start putting different attraction energies out into the atmosphere and stuff like that that come attracted to you, right? And then you put yourself around different spaces, aka different spirits and different deities and stuff like that. So look at that as like a thought and idea, or some type of idol worship that you're looking at the moment and stuff like that. And you end up having different battleship armor or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You end up modeling your spaceship. You end up making different modifications to your spaceship and stuff like that. You end up making different you know what I'm saying? It's like some Elden Ring shit. Like you end up making a build for the specific type of character that you want and stuff like that, and you keep on adapting that build. You end up having different builds for that thing, different abilities, different capabilities of how to look at that thing though. You know what I'm saying? Look at the relationship. Look at the X to the point it's not even gonna feel like no hex no more. It's like a thing that you're allowing. You're allowing yourself to be hexed. You're allowing yourself to internalize it like that. You're allowing it's like you're allowing yourself to be frustrated. You're allowing yourself to go through that boundary restriction limit and look at it like it's something that's limited to you. When the whole thing in general, right, is limitless. Your spirit is limitless and stuff like that. You just have to break outside that box. So it's expanding out of a mind and then making a new mind. So that's expansion, contraction. Expanding out of a mind and then contracting into a new one in some shape or form. So that's like expanding your spirit and then contracting into a new spirit and stuff like that. And that's forming into a mentality and then end up carrying out into the flesh, into the flesh, into the body, into the material. But it's a thing you have to actively keep adding vitality to, keep adding energy to. You have to keep on working on it. You know what I'm saying? Because in general, we're always going to be working on something. We're always going to have some type of schedule. We're always going to have some type of routine and pattern and stuff like that. We're always going to be working on that thing, even if we ain't working on nothing and we procrastinating. Okay, you're working on procrastinating. You're working on sitting on your ass. So the more you sit there, you actually try to work on having different ways of how to look at what you just experienced when it comes to that relationship, when it comes to that ex and stuff like that. You start comparing and contrasting and how that relate to you. Oh, I would have never attracted that person in the first place based upon the attention, the thing I'm paying attention to, adding all that tension to it and stuff like that, all that friction to where the way it ended up and stuff like that. But you end up taking the lessons out of it for the most part, and you end up putting yourself into different worlds, different exits, different ways to how to expand out of it, right? And then that X ain't gonna look like no hex no more. It's not gonna feel like no hex and stuff like that. It's really some shit you're doing to yourself for the most part, unless they actually is trying to put you on some hex type of energy and they trying to ruin your life. But that's them stuff projecting. So from an overall perspective, God gonna see that, and God don't like ugly and stuff like that. So it's the behavior, it's the mentality, it's the temperament that you in. So based upon the intentions they was in, by trying to fuck up your life, they really fucking up themselves inside type shit, because you keep on self-projecting the damage of how you feel inside, and you're trying to fulfill it by doing a whole bunch of different attention-seeking, extreme negative shit and stuff like that, and you're only gonna self-project that. And the person who's actually experiencing it, yeah, they going through some fucked up shit, but they from the intention of, I'm trying to get out of it. I'm trying to have a better way of looking at it. I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying, have some type of positive, good outlook and light, and trying to learn from this thing for the most part. I'm not trying to get bogged down by this thing. I'm not trying to let this thing define my whole life for the most part. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make some new type of sentience. I'm trying to create something new for myself. I'm trying to have somebody who's better than the last person I was with, but in like a respectable type of way and stuff like that. Unless it's like, fuck that bitch and that bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, or goddamn fuck that nigga, because this nigga just did some weird shit, some weirdo shit or something like that. But like, y'all get what I'm trying to say for the most part. But yeah.